Hi. Andrew's here with me, my 2-year-old grandson, and so we're going to try to do this without too many interruptions. You want to come sit on Grandma's lap while you do this? Come on. You can come listen to our story. Oh, goodness.
Slippers.
It's okay. You don't need slippers while you're reading. It's called The Strange Soldier. The next morning, Bickie and Pete brought the muskets along and put them in the weed patch. After the other children and the teacher left the schoolhouse, after school, they brought them out and the 4 boys went hunting. The guns were loaded with number 6 shot for squirrels and rabbits. Before many minutes, they startled a rabbit in an adjoining pasture. Now get your eyes on that rabbit and shut them tight when you shoot, Bickie warned Pete, steadying his gun on his shoulder. The rabbit had found a temporary shelter in the shallow hole of only a few yards away. Bickie lifted the musket and pulled the trigger. In spite of closing his eyes, the flash burnt his face smartly. He couldn't see anything for a few seconds. The recoil of the heavy gun, although loaded with the lightest of charges, struck Bickie in the chest like a battering ram. Pete was knocked over by the kickback from his musket. By the time the boys recovered themselves, the rabbit had all but disappeared. "Better luck next time," a deep voice spoke right from behind them. "Here, let me help you load your guns." The boys looked around in fear and surprise. But the man appeared quite harmless, standing there in the pasture with his own worn coat and black slouch hat. Then Bickie saw the GAR badge on his shoulder. All the boys knew what that meant. Nels and Pete's father wore one too. The man, he was a soldier. They stared at him, and none of the 4 of them spoke. "Come, let's get these guns loaded, and we'll see if we can't bring something back before dark." The stranger spoke in a deep, full voice. "We'd better hurry. It will soon be sundown." Then Nels spoke up. "Where do you live, mister?" Nels was the oldest of the boys and was the most talkative. "Did you come from Marshalltown?" "As a matter of fact, I did come from Marshalltown just now," the man smiled down at them. "But it isn't my home. I live in Illinois. I'm here on business. You may call me Rudolph." Oh, I can't get the page turned. The man took off his black slouch hat. His hair was thick and curly. His blue eyes twinkled. His mustache and full beard were dark, just like his curly hair. The boys handed their muskets toward the friendly stranger. He took Bickie's first. "Your father must have been a Union soldier," he said, looking at that old blue coat. Bickie felt his cheeks grow really hot. "My father was captured in Bentonville, and when he was on his way to Andersonville's prison. My Uncle Dirk died before Vicksburg." He used the words exactly the way Mother had always. "Your daddy came home from the war." "Our daddy did come home from the war, and he was sick. He was sick for a long, long time. And then he died," Tommy said. "Our dad was in the cavalry," Nels spoke up full. "He isn't sick. He's home." "Shall we load for the geese?" the new friend asked. "Oh, mister, that would be fine," they all agreed. Rudolph took Bickie's powder flank and poured 2 measures of powder in the muzzle of the gun. Then he pulled the armor from under the barrel of the old musket. "Have you got some paper?" he asked the boys. Nels pulled a wad of rough tablet paper from under his pocket. The soldier rammed it down against the powder. Then he took another measure of lead from the flask, poured it over the powder, and rammed another wad of paper down in the cap. Then the soldier carefully put the ramrod back into its place under the musket barrel and fitted the precision cap into the hollow tube leading to the powder charge. When the trigger was pulled, it would strike the cap. exploded and sent a flame down the barrel tube to ignite the powder. Rudolph loaded both muskets. He gave Pete's back to him to carry. He lifted Bucky's gun to his shoulder, and they walked to the creek. Uh-oh. The sun was almost low in the west with the reddish glow that hung over the white snow made it look even colder. Flocks of geese headed south flew in a great wedge over the farmlands. Most of them flew high that were there, with no chance of winning one of them. But as though some breath of happy fortune attended the new friend they had just made, that flock of geese came swooping down towards the creek and flowed between the school grounds and the Ross farm. The big birds were coming down for water. Rudolph picked a goose that was sailing low over the trees, and with a terrific burst of noise, the old musket blasted out into the quiet evening. "You got him! You got him!" all the boys shouted. They ran to the spot where the goose lay, just at the edge of the water. He was a fine big fellow. "Must weigh 12 pounds at least," Rudolph said as he lifted the bird. He handed it to Bickie. "It's yours, son," he laughed. "It was your musket that shot him, so it's your goose." Bickie held his hands to take the goose with such admiration and excitement filling him. He felt ready to burst with joy and surprise. What would Mother say when she saw this goose coming in the door? For days they had eaten cornmeal mush for breakfast and for supper and carried jam sandwiches for lunch. Bickie and Tommy felt very hungry all the time. "Maybe you could come home with us." Bickie tightened his hold on the goose. "I know Mother would like to see you." "Yes, that's our house over there. It's very near," Bickie urged. "I would like to come," Rudolph said, patting Bickie's head through the wool cap. "But I'll have to hurry back to town. I'll be around here for a few days, and I'll see you boys again." Then the bright idea flashed across Bickie's mind. He looked at the soldier's thin coat. "Maybe you would like to have my coat," he said. It was the right thing to do. Something for this man who had been so kind. "I really don't need it at all. I think I will be fine." "Oh, I think it'll fit you. And you're a soldier." Rudolph turned his keen blue eyes and looked right at Bickie. And Bickie looked at him for a minute. "Are you sure you don't need it?" "Oh, I have other coats," Bickie boasted. And it was true. Tommy was wearing one of them right now, and the other was a very ragged one that was in the barn. One of the hens had been using it for a nest for months. Yes, Bickie reasoned to himself, he could do without that old blue coat very nicely, especially when the man had given them such a fine goose. Rudolph stood for a long time without saying anything. He looked Bickie over with a sharp eye. Measured the coat from tail to collar. Then, with a look of sadness in his eyes, "All right, little man, I'll take that coat, but only if your mother is willing. But we must walk to the door, and we must ask her." "Oh, I don't want you to give away anything that your mother will be sorry about." At the door of the granary, the boy shouted, "Oh, Mother, Mother, come look." The soldier man shot a goose from us. "You can cook it now?" "He is a good soldier." Then before Mother could put her iron on the stove or anything, Bickie said, Mother, may I give him my old blue coat? It will fit him, and he really needs it." Mother looked at the goose in Bickie's hands. She looked at the other boys. For Pete and Nels came cowardly into the kitchen. Then she looked right over their heads, straight at the soldier Rudolph. Bickie knew that she could see right away how much that man needed that coat. She could see that he was cold in his own coat. It was so thin. Bickie knew that she could see it too. The man's name is Rudolph, Tommy said. He shot the goose with our gun. The soldier hadn't spoken a word. He stood there in the door with his hat in his hand, just smiling. If Bickie wants you to have the coat, I think that you should take it, said Mother. Won't you stay and have supper with us? You have made my boys so very happy. Oh, I can't stay at this time, the soldier said, smiling still, and he put that old blue coat on. But I will come back again. He stepped out into the snowy evening. The door closed behind him. Then Nels and Pete wanted to lift the goose, and there was a great deal of excitement and chatter. Then the Whitney boys left for home. Bickie's heart sang. He could not tell whether he was more glad of the goose or getting rid of that old blue army coat. Such a double blessing, it was almost more than he could take. Well, well, said Mother, taking the goose in her hands. This is wonderful. She looked at the old Seth Thomas clock. It's too late to cook it tonight, but I can dress it and have it ready for tomorrow. Let's have our mush and milk right now. Ooh, I can't wait. Me too, I'm hungry. And the goose can be cooked for us when we come home from school tomorrow. Right, Mother? That's the best idea, Mother said. I think John will be back from Marshalltown. He's going to have to stay home now for a while. The corn should have already been picked before the snow hit. Bickie thought Mother's eyes looked a little bit worried, but she brightened them all up again. See, I baked fresh bread today, so you can have some bread and jelly. And I churned today, too, so there is fresh butter for the bread. Andrew, stop, honey. The hungry boys sat down at this scanty supper and ate heartily while Mother filled the big wash boiler with water and put it over the fire as she prepared to dress the goose. I think it was good of you to give the soldier your coat, Mother said to Bickie. He looked very cold. Poor fellow. Now, I just wonder what you're going to wear to school. Oh, I can wear the coat out in the barn, Mother. Bickie ate his mush in great contentment. You mean the one the hen's been using for her nest? Oh, Mother laughed. Oh, it's so ragged it wouldn't even keep you warm at all. The smile faded from her face, and she looked troubled. But she didn't say anything to Bickie. She shouldn't have given the coat away. Mother was always quick to pity people who didn't have clothing or food. I know what we'll do. Her face brightened. We'll let you wear my old black coat tomorrow, and then I'll see what I can do about fixing you up a proper coat of some kind. Ugh. Suddenly the mush in Bickie's mouth tasted bitter. The milk, it tasted sour. His stomach didn't feel good either. The old weight pressed down on him, just as it had done before. Rudolph came along that afternoon. Well, pretty nice that he gave his coat away to somebody who really needed it, but now he's going to have to wear Mother's jacket, and he wasn't very happy about that. There was absolutely no pictures in this one tonight, but tomorrow, number 7, chapter 7, Bickie's new coat. Well, that's all for this evening, so I will bid you all a good night, and please be sure to say your prayers. I love you all. Good night.